a market that Vauxhall had their eye on. This 1958 Vauxhall Cresta PA belongs to the Stanton family of Hollywood. Birmingham, that is. Launched in the gloom of the winter of 1957, they were offered in a range of colours never seen before in Britain. The Stanton's car is not pink and white, but royal glow and ivory.
If you look at some of the Vauxhall advertising, the brochures of the period, these cars were in fact aimed at the middle classes, the pipe smoking and the golf playing brigade. It was only the rock and roll fraternity that really latched onto the bright colours and the chrome and the general razzmatazz of these vehicles. That's, you know, it's a bit of a misconception to probably think that they are rock and roll cars, when in fact they were never designed or aimed at that market.
At over £1,000, considerably more than a Zodiac, Vauxhalls were unlikely to find many Teddy Boy customers. They were hoping to sell pink and white cars to bank managers.
This is motoring in the modern shape, graced in the colours of tomorrow, set off in its distinctive style by bright work of chrome and stainless steel. This is the shape that is low, wide and handsome. Here's finger light control.
Well, here it is, Luton's answer to the 59 Cadillac. What can I tell you about it? It's had all the features that none of the British cars had at the time, yeah? This is outrageous styling, even by 1959 standards. But most British cars were the staid blue, black, grey, dreary colours of the day. This is a 2.2 version, the early version of the car. Later version of the 2.6. They're basically, well, it's a Bedford truck engine that was stretched for the domestic market, but extremely reliable power unit. Straight six, of course.
Vauxhalls, under orders from GM's styling division, still dripped romantic aviation symbolism.
Yeah, well, the bomb sight, that was discontinued on the later cars, I would imagine because of the safety legislation. But beautiful feature. You wouldn't see that on a modern car today. So the safety people would have, you know, made them scrap that. But, you know, beautiful feature for a car. 1950s era. Exclusive, you know. You never see that again. This is the early three-window PA, as it's designated. And you can see why, because the later cars had a one-piece screen from 1960 onwards, and they always refer to these vehicles as a three-window, hence 1, 2, 3 screens on the rear of the vehicle. Tail fins, this flasher unit here is incorporated into the end of the tail fin. Later cars it was incorporated into the tail light. The oval tail lights, most people consider these to be the most desirable tail lights, much more artistic and much more visual appeal than the later cars.
The Vauxhall Cresta represented the pinnacle of the American look transplanted onto British roads.
This was quite an expensive vehicle in 1959, just over £1,000, where you could buy a basic Ford 100E or an Austin A35 for half of that price. It was, you know, an upmarket vehicle. This is luxury from Luton, in other words.
For a mass-produced car, this luxury from Luton was an export success, but did not sell so well in Britain. Launched when the masses were expecting cheaper motoring, fun was giving way to function, and the most famous Dagenham dustbin was on its way.
Cortina d'Ampezzo and the Winter Olympics. The two-man bob racing provided one of the thrills among early events.
Cortina was a famous resort which hosted the 1956 Winter Olympics. Millions watched on television, and the town became a household name. It was also the name Ford gave their newest car.
Championship sleds travel the course at about 50 miles per hour, and the Cortina exceeds that speed while taking some of the turns with only 6 inches of clearance. Former world champion Jim Clark says it's the most exciting sport he's ever tackled. We'll take his word for it.
It wasn't just the name that was Italian, as one of its designers, Charles Thompson, remembers.
I think I was influenced more by the Italian stylists at the time, particularly with the front end. To me, it was more Italian than American. It's really an amalgam of all kinds of ideas and shapes. The story behind the Cortina really started with Ford looking at the prospect of building what they would call a world car.
The Cortina was the first British Ford to rebel against American influence. Though designed to have international appeal, America still couldn't help interfering at the last minute.
Ford management in the States came over and looked at the rear end and said we had to have round tail lights. And that's a little story on its own, really, because panic stations, of course, the major pressed steel parts were being produced, and I had to restrict the changes to a very limited area in order to incorporate the circular lamp. The taillight, which was in fact a last-minute decision, I'm happy to say finished up looking in fact better than the original design. I have to admit that. But there were all kinds of other problems that we had to overcome. One was a threat of a legal action from Mercedes, who thought we were infringing on their copyright, and the C&D people who had their insignia, which looked very similar to our design. We won those battles in the end of the day.
Ironically, the controversial rear lights became the Cortina's most famous feature. It was a success from the start, and more than 1 million Mark I Cortinas were sold during its 4-year lifespan. Costing just £600, this was a 5-seater family car for the price of a small car. It won the affection of commuters, minicab drivers, and mobilised an army of sales reps.
Just